Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Inner Kid Keto. This is session 10 already. I'm your host and guide through this process, Linda Schiller Hanna. I have to tell you, I'm doing this as much for me as I am for you. Maybe everybody does stuff for a secret inner reason. I'm not going to even pretend that it isn't helping me stay on track to know that you're out there and that you're dealing with similar feelings and issues. I have my little cup here, Inner Kid Keto. Love yourself first. It's kind of our slogan, love yourself first. Let's start with a hug. Go ahead and wrap your arm around you and underneath. And just lean in and breathe. And notice how hard or how easy it is to hold yourself and receive your own hug. Do you feel anxious, secure, safe? Is this my natural home? Or does the anxiety flare even when you hug your own self? There are clues in all of that. Let it all go. I'm going to talk a lot about trees today. But first, I'd like to have us do a short meditation, if you don't mind. If you do mind, you can just watch for a couple minutes while the rest of us try this, okay? So if it feels okay to do this, close your eyes and do some slow, deep breathing. I like to do in through the nose, out through the mouth. Inhaling confidence, exhaling fear. Promise not to do anything to hurt you today. It's never my intention to hurt you. We're safer together anyway. So with your eyes closed, I'm going to do a little imagination thing. I'd like to have you imagine that you're a tree. And I'd like you to notice what kind of tree you are, what season you're in, pay attention to the kind of soil you're growing in. Notice if you're a tree by yourself or are there other trees nearby. Are there any creatures around? Just notice what you notice. And keep breathing. There's a song in one of those old movies, Paint Your Wagon, where Clint Eastwood sings, I talk to the trees, but they don't listen to me. I'm going to ask your tree to talk to you now. The silence of your inner voice, the sweet softness of your inner voice. The tree wants to give you a message. It may come subtly, it may come loudly, but trust me, it wants to tell you something. It might need something. It might need your forgiveness. It might need you to visit it more. I'm not going to force any in particular image. Just notice what you notice for now. Very good. For many of us with food dynamic trauma issues, it's hard to go inside. It's hard to notice our feelings inside our own bodies. A lot of us have put in a lot of extra food just to numb out and feel nothing. Part of what today's about and this workshop's about is just reintroducing yourself to your own inner space, to your own natural feelings, and reminding myself to do the same. I'm wearing a beautiful sweatshirt that my friend Marilyn Redmond painted for me. It's got dagwood trees on it. She's a wonderful artist up in the Tacoma area. She was actually Sacagawea in a former life, if you want to believe that. I do. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, up in Olympia mostly. And my grandparents had 40 acres of woods. And my great grandparents had the adjoining property of 120 acres of woods. We were tree rich. We didn't have a lot in other ways, but we were tree rich. I had a tree house that my grandfather built. It's pretty basic, but I read Little Men in it when I was about 5th, 6th grade. It was a magical summer to sit up in the treehouse and read Little Men by Louisa May Alcott. One of my dearest memories. I have another favorite memory of Grandpa's land. We were 5 cousins: Linda, Joe, Teresa, Howard, and Steve. And we got this idea. I think actually Steve or Howard thought of it. We found a big old tree in the middle of the woods, and we called her Old Betsy. She was a giant fir tree, probably 60 feet tall or more. But her limbs were beautifully arranged, so it was almost like climbing a ladder. And us kids decided that we would climb that tree. And then we got this game. We decided to call her the Tenderfoot Tree. And the game was that you had to climb the tree barefoot all the way up to be a member of the Tenderfoot Club. I don't think our folks knew how high we really went. We were so high that that tree was waving. It was like being on a ship with the wind. Magical. Magical. One of the most joyful memories of my life. We even made up a song. Old Betsy, the tenderfoot tree. Old Betsy, how I love thee. Something like that. And we had to walk through the woods barefoot, climb her barefoot, and come back down barefoot all the way back to Grandma's house to be official members of the Tenderfoot Club. I wonder if you have memories like that. All my relatives were pretty into nature. We go way back. I come from pioneer stock. We were literally in wagon trains, went west from Ohio, Missouri, Texas. And they homesteaded up in the Quinault River Valley, in the rainforest up in western Washington, up in the north. There's even a Canning Creek named after my great-grandfather. So it's still there. Why am I talking about trees? What the hell? What's that got to do with food? Well, trees are nature. Trying to get connected to nature, your own nature, nature around you. If you're spending too many hours inside, next to a computer or a TV screen or some other electronic gadget, video game, even YouTube, maybe it's time for a walk. Maybe it's time to go hug a tree. I took a course in intuition development, and one of the steps was grounding. There were 7 steps, but one of the steps was grounding, imagining roots from our tailbone down to the center of the earth. we had to ground and bring our energy down to the earth. Recognize that the earth is our mother, and the earth was a place we could put our toxic energy down, like fertilizer, but also it would hold us. It would be a place of connection. I don't know if you've heard of the concept of projection. Most of you probably have. It's a psychological term. Let's say if we have an issue inside of ourselves, many times we will project it out onto another person or something in nature around us. And when I was 19, I married someone who was in the Navy. And we drove coast to coast from Washington State all the way to Virginia to his next post in an old pickup truck. And I was only 19 and I was pretty green about life. I was pretty scared. I didn't talk about it, but I'm going to show you a drawing I just did a few minutes ago. All the way across the country, I would see trees with their bare arms sticking out, and I saw faces coming back at me, and they were screaming, "Help! Help! Help!" Every limb, every tree was help. I wasn't sophisticated enough at 19 to understand that. I actually thought most people had that stuff going on. Probably not. But if you do, pay attention. If you're getting feedback loop from your environment where you're feeling like trees are crying out for help, that's a mirror to you. That's a mirror. Pay attention. Part of surviving this world is paying attention. It really is. Pay attention. Notice when you stiffen up. Notice when you stop breathing. Remember, we talked about that the other day in blowing up pictures. When did I stop breathing? What did that remind me of? Anything I can breathe through, I can live through. I want to follow back up on that first marriage to my Navy guy going from Washington to Virginia. He was a perfect first husband. Really, perfect. I have no regrets. My spirit guides, this is what they say about divorce. This is not what I learned in church. It's not what I learned from grandma. But my spirit guides call them discoveries. I've had 2 discoveries. I'm on my 3rd and last marriage. Each one taught me a lot. I believe that marriages are karmic. And if you have kids, they're really karmic. When I see really challenging marriages where the couples are freaking out and they've got a bunch of kids, what my understanding is those kids chose, you're going to be my mommy and you're going to be my daddy, deal with it. Because I need the dynamics that happen between you for my soul development. And those parents got co-opted into that crazy story. And they suffer too. This is Earth School, remember. I have pictures. Here's my dad, who I co-opted, Jim Schiller, notice, standing in woods. We didn't have a lot of money as kids, but what he would do is take us for Sunday drives, and he would teach us about the flora and the fauna. That's a fern. That's an trillium. That's a wild violet. That's a mushroom. That's lichen. That's an evergreen tree. That's a deciduous tree. I grew up learning about nature in the woods on Sunday drives with Dad. And I thought all kids did that. Apparently not. Here's a picture of my brother Joe. you'll notice that we have a lot of pictures with trees. I hope you can see that. Joe, I've talked about him before. He's the one that got into AA, stole the airplane, all that stuff. He did a lot of work with the Native Americans in Nisqually. He got arrested with the fish in back in those days, um, or civil disobedience with Hank Adams. I went one time to the reservation, to the Nisqually reservation during that time, and we all got tear gassed by the government. That's kind of strange. Probably shouldn't be saying that here, but trying to help the Native Americans. I was just taking food out there, but I just happened to be there the day they all showed up. So why am I talking about so much about trees? Because trees are nature. I have a girlfriend, Julianne, and Julianne's been looking at my videos and she says, Linda, your set's too bare. You need a tree on the right of you. She's the reason I have these little ivies up here too. God bless her. And I didn't even think about it. I think she's right. This little tree I've got behind here is a little evergreen. It's kind of one of those spirally things. It's pretty dried out. It's had a rough time this winter. I just brought it in from out of the snow. Didn't water it. You'd think, well, if there's snow, this is wet enough, but I need it. I see it needs water. Who knew? One more tree story. Why am I talking about trees? Because I want you to pay attention to nature. Your body is nature. Trees are nature. Connect to nature. Reconnect to nature. It will heal you. It will help you. One time I was working in LA for a commodities firm, and they wanted me to take a real estate test. And I had to go downtown LA to take this stupid test. And I was so nervous. The law is not my friend. I didn't know how to, it was too technical. I don't have that kind of brain. And before I went in, I says, I've got to hug a tree. I've got to hug a tree. I've got to calm down. I was so scared. And on the curb was a tiny little tree about the size of a thick pencil, like that. Tiny little tree that they had growing on the curb, probably about 5 feet tall. And I went and hugged that little tree, but there wasn't much to hug. Guess what? I flunked that test. I wasn't supposed to be doing that job. A failure is a gift. It sends you pinging off into a better direction where you really belong. Don't worry about failures. Just see them as guideposts. One of my favorite things about failure is the only failure there is an aiming too low. I wasn't supposed to be a commodity secretary signing real estate deals for my boss. That wasn't my mission. I have one magical tree story and then I'll wind up. I went camping with this friend who had a new canoe. And it was near Virginia Beach. And we went to a regular campsite with all the accoutrement, the tables, everything, water, facilities, everything was there. But he had a big canoe and he had it on the back of his pickup. And he said, I want to put the canoe down by the lake. In fact, let's camp down by the lake. And I looked around and I thought, it's away from all the people. It just didn't feel right. And I said, I'd rather camp back up there where they have water and stuff, because if I'm going to be cooking, I want to be able to have water convenient. There's nothing here for that. This is not set up for that. And he acquiesced. That was fine. Well, about 4 that afternoon, it came a huge rain and thunderstorm. It was so bad, we had to get inside the tent and just wait it out. When it was over, we walked back down by the lake, and a giant tree fell exactly where we were going to camp. A huge tree. What part of me felt like, no, that isn't a good place? It literally probably saved our lives. Maybe be connected to trees has helped me be safe, connected to nature, loving nature. A few months ago, a tree fell on our house here. It fell right against my bedroom window. Didn't break it, gently fell against it. It had just uprooted because the ground was so wet. And one other time I lived in a house where a giant tree fell and it didn't do an ounce of damage. I think trees love me because I love them. I want you to love your body so it will love you back. The more you do for it, the more you take care of it, the more you appreciate it and nurture it, the better. It will become easier and easier and easier to feel your feelings, honor your feelings, and maybe even be saved by them. I have little Linda over here. Fortunately, I had a little set, little trees in it. That's best I could do. So she's sitting on a frozen pond that you would have in a some kind of train setup or something. And right now we still have frozen ponds where I live. But I want her to be a nature girl. I want her to love nature the way I do. I want you to love your body, starting here and now, no matter what happened before, no matter who taught you to hate it, who taught you to fear it, what made you leave it. I always say, if anything makes you want to leave your body, take your body with you. Your invitation is today to reconnect to your body. And I invite you, wherever you are, to find something of nature that will support you, speak to you, love you. Go hug a tree. Put your belly right against the tree. Let that tree connect to your soul. Let yourself give your pain to the tree. Particularly evergreen trees are very grounding and healing. And one of the most amazing trees I've ever seen was in Lahaina in Maui. That incredible giant banyan tree. And when that horrible fire happened a couple years back, the first thing I said, I hope that tree makes it. I wanted the people to make it. I wanted the community to make it, but that tree is magical. It made it. It has longevity. Some of the redwoods have been alive since the time of Christ, 2,000 years. They're one of the oldest living things on the planet. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with trees. I hope you catch my obsession. If you haven't got it, I hope you catch it. Think of yourself as a tree. Let's go back to that original vision. How'd you do the vision? What kind of soil? If the soil's rocky, it probably means you had a tough beginning in your life. What season are you in? Winter? Maybe you're getting older, not looking forward to much. Are you standing alone in the forest? Are you letting anyone close to you? Anybody around? How you saw that vision is some kind of an image about how you're living your life right now. You have the point of power. You can change it if you don't like it. It's not even too late to have a happy childhood. You can do remedial work. You can start loving your inner child. You can send energy back to yourself. You can start treating yourself more kindly. Stop saying mean things to yourself, and it will make a difference. It's time to wind this up. It's time for both of us to go to sleep. Because actually, I started this late in the day. I had a very busy day and I had to do this late. Even though I said good morning, I'm also going to say good night. God bless you. Thanks for showing up one more time. Hope to see you again. Inner Kid Keto is going to cover a lot of ground. We're working on the inner child. We're working on living and loving ourselves, which is a big deal. It's not too late. All right. Bless you. Bye for now.